What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 23. On a personal level, we're going to call this the Scott Turner episode.
Okay. All right.
For the longest time, Scott was the answer to a trivia question. Only player from the state of Hawaii to have ever played at OSU.
Yeah.
But we'll also, to probably the funniest guy ever to wear an Ohio State uniform, we got to give it to the Tyvus Powell, too.
Absolutely.
Had we not already given 21 to Devlin wore 23 for a
Devlin
year,
wore
too.
23, yeah.
So, but yeah, as always, I'm Jeremy the Couch Potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. Happy belated Father's Day, sir. How was the weekend?
Same to you, my friend.
Thank
was
you.
good. It was good, man. It was nice. My kids, they went and got me breakfast and stuff. I had to be in bed. Like they crushed it. But it was good, man. Got to be around family. Got to hang out with my dad. So hey, I had no complaints, man. How was yours?
Good. Very, very low key. Had some a graduation party, a retirement party on Saturday. Did the father stuff yesterday. So yeah, good.
Good, man.
I can't ask for much more.
No.
And it was kind of bookended by some booms.
Yes, it was.
A couple guys we've talked about. Quincy Porter, big get, literally and figuratively. This is that big bodied guy. Kind of came out of nowhere. You started to hear some rumors going into Friday, because Friday he was supposed to be in Ann Arbor for an official, and shut it down on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Big get for Heartline, gives him two guys in that room now.
Yep.
I think you've got some clips of him though.
Yeah, I've got some clips. It was nice to get him to not take that trip to Ann Arbor. I can't stress that enough.
Yes.
Like to get a kid to, as we've done it a million times on here, we encourage the kids to live out the process, enjoy it. There's only one time in your life that's going to happen, but to get him to stay at home or to not go, that was big. All right, we got the screen pulled up. Make sure I got the right guy. Can you see that? There we go.
Yep.
All right, so Quincy Porter, 24/7 profile, 6'3", 190 pounds. He looks a lot bigger on film. This is him right here. So you could see what type of receiver that he's going to be for us. He's going to be that X receiver. It's going to be a major red zone threat for us. And he's got the frame as well to really put on some good weight. And so you can see that they're trying to make sure that they get, a variety of guys in that receiver room. And so we'll watch a few clips of him. He's from the state of New Jersey. So anytime we can get kids from New Jersey, I'm all for it. So you can see for his size, he can move, man. Like he's got good speed. He's got good ball skills. He's pretty sudden for his size too. One of the things I know that they'll work on when he gets to Ohio State will be his hips. So he can be a little bit more fluid in his hips, but I think this kid's got a tremendous amount of potential. He is actually ranked number 49 nationally. So there was some stat, I don't know it exactly, but Heartline has, I don't know how many years in a row, he's gotten a top 50 receiver in his recruiting class. And so Coach Heartline, we told you all the time, trust him. Just trust him. He's going to get his guys. And here's another one of those guys that's going to has potential to be an impact player for us. So I'm excited for him. I think he can play.
Yeah, he's definitely. I see what you're saying about the hips, though. He's a little stiff.
He's a little stiff.
But that one cut that he made in like the first video almost looked like, just physically, obviously not comparing him to, but it was Calvin Johnson vibes.
Yeah. I heard somebody make a pretty good comparison with him. I forget which podcast it was. I'd like to give him credit. I just can't remember which one it was, but they made mention to T. Higgins. I thought that was a pretty good comparison. Somebody whose straight line speed is going to be really good. He's going to go up and get it. His route running ability is solid, to be a little better, but he's got all the tools to be a really top-notch player. And I thought the T. Higgins comparison was pretty good.
Yeah, that's solid. That's a real solid comparison. Yeah, I mean, straight line's definitely there. I mean, and his frame is it's there. I mean, that's a big bodied.
He's a big dude, man.
I love it though. I love those big bodied guys.
Yeah, he's slippery. You know what I mean? He's slippery. I know we're Browns fans. This he gives me number one Michael Jackson vibes. You remember that guy?
Yeah, that's a throwback. Oh man.
Throwback. He gives me some of those vibes, but he's the real deal, man. I'm excited to have him.
Yeah, for sure. That's and we've done well in Jersey. The guys that we're pulling from Jersey, your boy IGB is a Jersey guy.
Yeah.
Taiwan Malone. Going back to Malcolm Jenkins. I mean, Jersey has been very kind to us.
Absolutely.
And we'll hit on receiver stuff here in a minute because, as we had everything, ready to go, or so we thought, late last night, the suspected boom of Isaiah West, three-star technically running back from Philadelphia.
St. Joe's Prep.
You guys might have heard of a guy that went there. His name's Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
So I just heard, I was listening to Berm and those guys when I was finishing up stuff tonight. And interesting tidbit, he had a relationship with Locke.
Yeah.
But Locke told him when he was at Oregon, I'm not going to offer you because it's too far from Philly. You would never come here.
Yeah.
Which
is it's very interesting.
It is. But now Locke's in Columbus, boom, offers the kid, was a Kentucky commit.
Yeah.
Always, good to take them grown men from down there. So this kid, obviously running back, glamour position. We've got Bo Jackson in the fold.
Yep.
Everybody says, we need 3 this year. We do need 3.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to end up with 3 pretty different guys.
I do too. I really do too. How about Coach Locke's mention of his favorite players growing up? Bo Jackson, who was
the favorite rapper?
Favorite. Yeah.
So it was. Let me pull this up. I don't want to get it wrong. My favorite football player, rap album, and basketball player as a kid. The phrase "power of 3" typically refers to the concept of tripling something, or the idea of the number 3 having significance or power in various contexts. So in this picture is Bo Jackson, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Kanye West and Michael Jordan. So you guys heard us talk. Jordan Davison is on campus this coming week. And again, we're going to get to that because we've said every week it's a big weekend.
Yeah.
It don't get any bigger than this weekend, y'all.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Pound for pound and star for star.
Yeah.
So the consensus was that if Ohio State, Davison was at Oregon this weekend.
Yeah.
If Ohio State gets through this weekend without a commitment, then they're in really good shape.
Yep.
Now, obviously, as we record this, it's Monday night at 8:45. A lot of things can happen before Friday.
A lot of things.
But at this point, it seems like running backs are going to be really, really good in this class.
Yeah, I think so too. Obviously, with Bo Jackson, with Isaiah West in the fold, and we'll run some of his clips right now. I think the running back class is going to be solid, and we need 3 running backs, like you said earlier, and we'll touch on that later when we talk about the size of this recruiting class and what it could be. But we have, just like with the receivers, the same thing with the running backs. We have different types of running backs, and one of the things you guys are going to see on this film with Isaiah West is like he's good. He's really good. He's got good feet. He's got good hips. He's got really good vision. He gets vertical. He doesn't waste time trying to make people miss. He gets one cut and he's up the field and he's gone, just like you saw right there. He's got pretty good speed. The one thing that really stands out to me, and I saw some comparisons online, they made, as far as physical traits, they made mention to Saquon Barkley. As you can see, he's a pretty stout kid. He's 5'11", 215 pounds. I mean, and they say he's rocked out. The one thing that they always talk about with him is that his catching ability, just like we saw there, is underrated. And the kid just didn't like the camp circuit. Like he's just a football player. He didn't really like going to all these camps and doing all these different things. He wanted to let his film do the talking, and it did. Even if he didn't end up at Ohio State, Kentucky is still a Division I football team that is going to give you a pretty nice check when it comes to NIL and give you opportunities to play in the NFL. And so we're getting a kid who has got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And you could see by the way he runs violent. St. Joe's Prep is known. Obviously, Kyle McCorder's their quarterback as well a few years ago with Marvin Harrison. So they're known as a throwing team. So he really doesn't get featured as much as you would like him to in an offense, because they want to spin it. They want to get the ball out to their playmakers. But you can see, man, this kid is extremely talented. They truly believe that he could be the best running back in the country. Like that's how strongly the Buckeyes feel about him. And so Coach Locke made sure that, hey, now that I'm closer to Philly, I'm going to get this kid wrapped up, and I want to make sure that he's in our class. And so this is a good get. And with Bo Jackson and Isaiah West and the potential of Jordan Davidson, I'm very pleased with where this running back room is going and where Coach Locke is right now as far as his recruiting of that running back room. I think he's done a really good job of laying a solid foundation. We just picked up a PO offer. It went out today to an Ohio kid too, who's got offers from like Marshall and things like that. So they're scouring the entire country for talented running backs. So hopefully they keep it, man. This is a good get for us.
It's only fitting that he wears 32 because there are a lot of these runs, for those of you that do Apple and Spotify, that remind me of freshman year healthy 100% Travion Henderson. Now obviously Trey has had his roller coaster. There are times that it doesn't look like he's seeing the field right, but a lot of these one cut moves and gone. He just hits the burst and goes.
Now he doesn't have the top end speed that Trey has, but he's got the explosiveness, so that's for sure.
And the wiggle, I guess you would say. But then there was the one play where he lowered his shoulder and trucked the kid. That was junior year Travion. Travion absolutely added that to his arsenal last year. This kid is special.
I love when running backs throw in pass protection clips. Oh god, it's phenomenal. Attaboy.
And, you look at, arguably we'll say, OSU's always had really good running backs, but the guys like Zeke, that is what set Zeke Elliott apart and made him great in the college.
Absolutely.
Was his ability to run, to block. And it's no different than a receiver. You look at guys, Evan Spencer comes to mind. One of the best blocking wide receivers ever. I mean, that's where we sit right now. We talked about last weekend's visits. The one guy who was there, Phillip Bell, wide receiver out of Cali, actually getting crystal ball to the Buckeyes today.
Which is big.
So, anytime you can go to Cali, that's a win. Receiver recruiting, everybody puts Coach Hartline under a microscope. With the two guys we've got in the fold, everybody's assumed it's a 4-man class. And that was probably true until last week, maybe. Obviously the guys we've talked about, until we're red in the face, the French, the Jamie Frenches, the DeCorian Moores, the Vernell Browns. I think Vernell Brown stays in Florida. And you get one of French or more. I don't know which one it is. So there's your third guy. And then, your fourth guy is almost a race, probably, between Dalen McCutcheon and Phillip Bell.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like Phillip Bell's ready to be done.
Yeah.
You start seeing those crystal balls roll in off of a visit, and normally a commitment is coming.
Yeah.
The surprise, though, that has I don't want to take
you're so excited for this,
dude. I don't even know why. Like, I about it was one of those things. I listened to it, and I'm like, no way.
Yeah, I did the same exact thing.
So obviously, Marion Harding plays Ontario. Ontario's quarterback, freak athlete. Bob Penn Miller.
Yeah.
6'3", 6'4", $180.
Yep.
10-6 in the 100, all Ohio in track.
Yep.
Went to OSU camp last week as a receiver. Mind you, this kid plays quarterback.
Yes.
At a D4.
D4.
I think they're 4.
Yeah.
Run the ball a lot. They let him throw it around though too.
They do. They do.
Not a program with overly athletic freaks though. Like,
yeah.
But he goes to OSU last week. Camps as a wide receiver. Clocked him at 22.6 miles an hour at 6'3" and 180 pounds.
That's fast.
As Urban Meyer would say, that's fast. Like,
yeah.
So, listening to, we talk about Jeremy Birmingham on here a lot. To me, Birm is still the GOAT of Ohio State recruiting.
Yeah.
And to, Birm almost sounded smitten with the kid.
Oh, yeah.
But he said that at one point on Thursday, it looked like Brian Hartline was going to walk up and offer him.
Yeah.
Invited him back to camp tomorrow. So Tuesday the 18th. And Birm went on the record today and said, I think he gets offered.
Yeah.
As of right now, he has a 247 profile. I don't think they have him, ranked anything. Has started to get D1 offers though.
Yeah, I've got it pulled up right here. He is 6'4", 180 pounds. He is recently rated 3-star, 86 rating. He has offers. His offers have really come all over the place. He's got offers from pretty much all the MAC schools. He's got an offer from Boston College, which he has an official visit set up there this week, I believe. He's got an offer from Colorado State, Iowa State. Northwestern has offered him, but they've not put on like a full court press or anything like that. Old Dominion has offered him. And so those are the type of schools that have been after him. And this is the type of kid, man, that we talked about last week, man. They go to these camps because they're in Ohio. They have the thoughts of being a Buckeye. And so you go to these camps to give yourself more exposure, and your work ethic and your natural God-given abilities are what's going to put you on the radar of these big schools. And so another kid and another family saying, hey, we're going to bet on ourselves. I believe he is from Africa. I don't know exactly where in Africa, Ethiopia. He moved or was adopted when he was like 6 years old or something like that. And so he's been in the Mansfield area his entire life. And so he's pretty loyal. Obviously, I'm sure there are some schools out there that were contacting him to come to their school, but he's stuck with Ontario. And he is a stud. I mean, he threw for 2,500 yards last year. He had over 1,000 yards rushing, close to 40 total touchdowns. I mean, the kid, he's a beast. And you guys know, you guys who are listening are football fans, and at the high school ranks, if you don't have a true quarterback, what do? You put your best athlete there and you go play. Well, this best athlete just happens to be 6'4", 180 pounds, and can run a sub 11 and run a sub 23, 200 consistently. And so he's a stud, man. And I listened. I heard something interesting. There was a question I was going to bring up to you, but Ohio State in this NIL, in this NIL era, they have to start recruiting kids like this.
Yep.
We can't, as much as we want to, consistently getting 3 5-stars in a class It's not going to happen because another school is going to offer them more money. And so now you're going to have to go out and get those diamonds in the rough that are going to be super loyal to you because you found them, you came and talked to them, and now they're not going to go anywhere. And so this is where you can take a risk, which I guess you could call it a risk. I don't know. He's a stud. But this is where you could take a risk on somebody like this kid because he's got every natural trait that you want, and all the other stuff can just be coached up. And so, this is one of the things that I think you're going to start seeing. Obviously, you're seeing it with the running back recruiting. You're definitely going to see it on the offensive and defensive lines. And so you really got to take a hard look at how you structure your classes for sure.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and, obviously at a glamour position, he's not going to cost you a whole lot of money in NIL.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and obviously it's just a feel good story. I mean, like I tweeted it out, for everybody that follows me. I go, this is officially a Bodpin Miller fan account. It's just one of those things. I guess the way I look at it and what makes me so excited for it is you get some weight on him and the potential to be what Terrell Pryor would have been had he been a wide receiver from day one is what you're getting. And I'm a massive TP fan. Always have been, always will be.
Yeah.
But had he been a receiver from day one, he would have been a first round draft pick.
Yeah.
100%. So I think I look at this as like that redo.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like I told Jared when this all started to come out, I go, this is Heartline going into the mine. I mean, this is but that's why he is Brian freaking Heartline. I mean, so it's going to be real interesting to see how receiver stuff goes.
Yep. The one question I had, I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and we didn't talk about this before, but how many guys do you think end up in this class?
Somewhere between 26 and 28.
Okay. All right.
Which will be the biggest class Ryan Day has ever had.
Yeah.
You have to. With the amount of guys that came back.
Yeah.
You've got to.
You've got to.
And that's where like the receiver recruiting in this class is very interesting because Jeremiah Smith is not in this class. No matter how good these guys all think they are, and they are all very good. But you've got some guys in this class at receiver that want to play the game.
Yep.
And with Ohio State's new visit structure and the way they're trying to do this, they want this class full or essentially full by the time September gets here. You can tell.
Yeah.
You've got some massive commitment dates coming. And you've got other guys who have said, I want to commit before my season starts. So yeah, I would say somewhere between 26 and 28.
Okay.
And honestly, for the first time in a long time, because of the size of the class, Ohio State's gonna have a chance to be the number one recruiting class overall.
Yeah.
We've had the highest player average before.
Yeah.
But that everybody that talks Ohio State recruiting has said it's going to come down to Justin Fry.
Yep.
And can you land your big fish? Sounds like Jackson Lloyd. Is it Jackson Lloyd?
Yeah.
Is coming off the board tomorrow at Alabama.
Yeah.
And that one was a stretch anyway. There's some scuttle out there that Ohio State's in a better spot with Micah DeBose.
Yeah.
Than a lot of people think. And that kind of, I guess, is a good lead way into this week's visit. Actually, before we get into this week's visit, you hit on, the, you can't fill a class with 5 stars anymore.
Yeah.
So I know we don't talk 26s on here, but it is very, very interesting that Diabell was on campus last week, the same day that Tavian St. Clair put on an absolute show.
Yeah.
And today Diabell commits to Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, did Tavian show it that, hey, this is my show when it gets to be my turn?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the quarterback position is just one of those. It's such a one-off. Like you really can't compare it to any other position on the field
No,
because
there's
at a
one.
place like Ohio State, you guys see it this year with our quarterback room. You've seen it in the years past. Or I mean, we had Joe Burrow leave. Like you guys, you've got to be okay with sitting.
Mhm.
And that is not an easy thing for, these 5-star kids to want to do. I could go somewhere and I'm okay with sitting for 1 year, maybe 2, but by year 3, I need to be the guy.
Right.
Well, if I'm Diabell, in which I think Diabell is an absolute
Oh,
stud.
yes.
So shout out or good job, Texas, for getting him locked in. I think he's a really good quarterback. It's actually the guy that I wanted in the 26 class.
Same.
But if I come and I visit and I watch Tavian St. Clair, who has completely reshaped his body, he's a freak of
He's a grown
nature.
man.
He's a grown man. He's a leader. He's spinning it. He's got the coaching staff is like pumping him up. Like if I see that, like, oh well, I'm not going to play till I'm a redshirt sophomore. I'm not going to play
Yep.
till I'm a redshirt junior. You know what I mean? Like that's a hard thing to do in this day and age
Oh, for sure.
when NIL and just getting on the field and putting yourself in a position to get paid on Sundays is where you want to be at. And so it's tough. And again, we talk about it all the time. That tells me everything that I need to know about Ohio State's culture, because we have consistently got these 5-star kids to come in and want to play for Ryan Day. And
Yep.
so like they're loyal to a fault at times. I mean, it's and so like that's just, again, it says so much to the culture. We added to the quarterback room as well. We'll talk about it, I guess, in a second with the coaching staff, Billy Fessler. So yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, man. And that's
So back to this weekend though. As I diverged us. This weekend is crazy.
yeah.
We talked about how Tavian St. Clair has been on campus every weekend this month. This weekend is his official visit. Excuse me. So he finally gets to be truly wined and dined. Given the presentations, taken, out to dinner. Then, you get to the running back room. And had we not gone the Isaiah West route, I thought both of these guys may have been in the class. We've got Jordan Davison coming in and Shakai Mills-Knight, a guy we talked about when Coach Locke got hired.
Yep.
So, you look at, let's see. So 247 actually has Jordan Davison ranked below Bo Jackson, which I think is kind of fun. Yeah. Now composite, they're 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Jordan Davison is from Modern Day. Anytime you can go to Modern Day and get a kid.
Yep.
You're talking about the number 6 running back, number 12 in the state of California, 6 foot 225. And then you get to, Shakai Mills-Knight, a little lower ranked, but would have filled that Isaiah West spot. 32nd overall from Chattanooga. But in the event something happens with, say Isaiah West decides he wants to go somewhere else or whatever, Shakai Mills-Knight would be a name to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Shakai Mills-Knight has offers from Alabama, Auburn, Miami, Michigan, and Ohio State. So those are like his top 5 schools. And so
I mean, he's
a
not
real
a slouch. One little tidbit about running back recruiting, because we like to talk trash about Tony Alford. everybody thought, all the Michigan fans thought they were going to get Marquise Davis since Ohio State was focused on Bo Jackson and Jordan Davison. Marquise Davis is going to Kentucky.
Yeah.
Shout out Coach Alford. Keep doing your thing up there, buddy. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Receiver room this week, we have Winston Watkins Jr. from Florida.
Okay.
Again, with the way I think the receiver room is trending, I don't know that there's room. 4-star kid, 5'10", 172 from Venice, Florida. 20th ranked wide receiver. Alabama, Colorado, Duke, Florida, Florida State. He's a slot guy, which, we essentially have the slot position filled.
Yeah.
So I don't, put a whole lot of stock there. Tight end, we got Nate Roberts making his official, who's obviously committed already.
Yeah.
And then we have a commit watch. And, I got to come up with some terminology for that. Because we are hosting Brody Lennon. Tight end from Cincinnati. Is he going to Winton Woods?
No, he's from Gilmore Academy.
Okay.
Yeah, he's from Gilmore Academy. He's another kid who came and camped last week and forced Coach Keenan Bailey's hand. He is a kid. Ohio State was not looking to offer this kid, but when he came to camp, he stood out above the rest. And I think it was Berm or somebody talked about the tight ends that were on campus and that have been coming to these camps have been phenomenal. And for him to stand out, Coach Key felt like I have no choice but to offer this kid. So again, it's another kid betting on himself, going to put on a show in front of the coaching staff and forcing their hand. And these are the type of kids that you want to fill out your class, especially if you're going to have up to 28.
And he's violent, man. He plays hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gates Mills Academy. So that's where, and another one of those kids who you're trying to fill out the class.
Yeah.
On the offensive side of the ball, or, to stay on offense, to go to the line, Carter Lowe making his official. And then you get to the big fish. The visit we have all arguably been waiting for. David Sanders. It doesn't get any bigger than this.
No.
Number 2 player in the country, offensive tackle from Providence Day School in Charlotte. 6'6", 290. Clemson, Ohio State, Tennessee. I don't think Georgia feels real warm and fuzzy about it anymore.
No.
But I'm a details guy. And after what I saw from Tennessee this weekend, if I'm that kid, they're off my list.
Yeah.
So, sits down at the meal, had his 3 filet mignons. Looked as bland as the Michigan hamburgers and hot dogs. But they misspelled his name. And
Sad.
it's David, guys. It's David. It's not hard.
Yeah.
And they put Davis. Justin Fry lands him, which, again, it sounds like Ohio State is going to offer a massive bag. He's getting Jeremiah Smith's bag this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Potentially a day one starter, honestly.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for a tackle to come in and start, but that's how good this kid is.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting recruitment. Obviously it's one of those that no matter what happens until December, it's going to be a cloud.
Yeah.
But this kid's legit.
He's a real deal. He's the real deal. He's everything you want in a tackle. The Paris Johnson comparisons are very real. Paris Johnson is involved in his recruitment, like you said so many times. the Sanchez family, everybody is all in on this kid. And so locking him up would be a boost to Coach Fry's, confidence for sure. And so I hope it all works out, man. Hopefully lock him up.
Couple interesting names on the D line, partially because of where they're both from. Malik Autry, Zion Grady, both from Alabama.
Yep.
Who we've hit on this before. It's hard to even get kids from the South to visit OSU. Let alone trenches guys. That's always been the Alabama, Auburn, LSU guys.
Yep.
Zion Grady is an edge, 6'4", 235. Probably going to end up at Alabama, but obviously there's some real smoke here. And the package deal thing never works out, but it sounds like they both, want to play together. But I believe Autry is actually verbaled to Auburn.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he is verbal to Auburn. But the fact he's taking a visit.
Yeah.
Now this is an interior kid, 6'5", 6'5.5", 320 pounds.
Those are the type of guys, man, that you need on that D line. Oh my gosh.
So especially if Shanklin ends up at LSU,
yeah.
Autry becomes Grady becomes very intriguing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. Again, you're making inroads in the state, but I don't know that there's a real legit shot at either one of those guys.
Yeah.
Then we go to, again, another interesting one. 2025 linebacker from Georgia, Jaden Harmon.
Yeah.
Again, OSU has always done really, really, really well in Georgia.
Yep.
So I will never say we're not going to have a chance. But again, this kid is already verbal to Alabama.
Yeah.
And the other caveat to that is, I think as far as linebacker recruiting goes, it's Riley Pettijohn or Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng.
Yep.
I think Boateng loved his visit, judging
I think
by
so
his social
too.
media.
I think so too. And I think Pettijohn and Boateng fit exactly the type of linebacker that Ohio State needs. Eli Lee's got the interior pretty much locked up. That's where we need him. But getting those outside, that Will and that Sam linebacker, those are the guys that you're looking for right now. And so I think, Boateng has a lot of JOK in him.
Yes.
He is very similar in that. And so, JOK, is a freak of nature that is just always around the ball. And so you're going to get that type of play from Boateng. And those are the type of guys that Ohio State and Coach Knowles needs. It takes that defense to another level when you have those extremely high effort, freaky athletic guys that could play out in the box, that could be elite blitzers, or play out of the box, can be elite blitzers as well. And so he fits that mold. And I would love to have, JOK and his brother in the state of Ohio. That'd be great. So hopefully it works out. But yeah, those are the guys that I think are number one and number two on the pecking order for the Buckeyes right now.
And Eli Lee will be on his official this weekend as well. So
yeah,
that'll help. Well, the secondary, man. Whew. Naeem Offord is on his official.
Yep.
Devin Sanchez is on his official. And it also came out tonight that Fahim Delon is going to be back on campus after committing.
Okay.
Most likely all because of one man, and that is the Dorian Brew.
Yeah.
He's a legacy to OSU. Trended away there for a while. And then the Blake Woodby decommitment opens all the doors back up.
Yeah.
This kid is good. Oregon, thought they were going to be in play. USC, but it seems like it's all trending back, to the good guys. This kid and Trey McNutt were the two everybody thought were going to start the Ohio State secondary class.
Yeah.
That was before the Devin Sanchez's and the Fahims. And so now you piece all that together and you've got the potential for just insanity.
And so like with Dorian Brew, for the listeners that don't know his story, he is an Ohio kid. He is from the Dayton area. He went to Clayton Northmont. I believe he went to Clayton Northmont. And his family, because of his parents' job or something like that, they had to move to Texas. And so now he is going to be playing football in the state of Texas right now. And so when you make that move, you may have Ohio roots, you may have those ties to Ohio State, but there's also that one of the things that was so appealing to Ohio State was that it was close to home. Well, now home is not Ohio anymore.
Right.
And so now you're starting to look at at other schools. Your horizons have to expand if staying close to home is something that is extremely important to you. And so I think that played a factor in where his recruitment kind of went. But, at the end of the day, I do think he ends up in this class. 24/7 Sports has him rated as the number 61 player nationally. He's a number 7 cornerback in the country. But I don't think he plays corner at Ohio State. I think he ends up playing one of the safety positions for us.
I can see that.
For me, the reason why I believe that is he has the elite speed that you're looking for. He's a sub 11 guy in the 100. He's already 6 foot. He's long. He's rangy, 200 pounds. He's a willing tackler. He's got great ball skills. He actually could probably be a Power 5 receiver as well. To me, he screams your prototypical post free safety. He is that to me to a T. He can cover so much ground. If you're rolling that safety to the middle of the field, like these are the type of guys that you want. And so he gives me some Jordan Fuller vibes. He gives me some of those true free safety vibes. And so I think based on the way the recruiting has gone and who we're looking at in this class, I think he really fits that mold. I think he'll start out as a corner, but I could see him being transitioned into a safety position because he does have a ton of versatility. And so to me, Dorian Brew is an absolute must get. He's one of the best players in the country. He was in our backyard. Now he's not. Like you said, with Blake Woodby leaving the class, you got all these guys coming on their official visits. It's very fitting. I think they're trying to get this guy wrapped up and make sure that he's in this class. And so Dorian Brew, definitely keep an eye on him because I think he'll be a Buckeye. That's what I believe.
And the Sanchez family has been all over him. You talk about his speed, and obviously bloodline is not everything, but listen to this bloodline. Father, Derek, sprinter at LSU, 2004 Olympic gold medalist in the 4x4 relay, and bronze medalist in the 400 individual.
Okay, didn't know that.
Mother, Donica Merriman, Ohio State sprinter from 1998 to 2001, member of the Ohio State Athletics Hall of Fame. Bloodline.
Okay. So he can run.
yeah. Just so he can run. Bit. So, with Brew and Sanders especially, and even Jordan Davison, and we'll throw the Alabama guys in there. Massive weekend, man.
Yeah.
I think you're going to start to see some of those trenches spots starting to fill up.
Yeah, I agree.
You've got the Justin Hill commit coming on July 3rd, which I think he's going to be on campus tomorrow, I heard.
I hope so. That would be
either
fantastic.
7-on-7 or a camp. So sidebar
about Justin Hill. So we have talked about Justin Hill. He's an edge player, Cincinnati Winton Woods. He's the prototypical Jack position. I think he's a must get. We've talked about him plenty of times on this. The entire coaching staff went down to visit him a few weeks ago. Like, he is a guy that they have pinpointed. Our head coach, my former head coach at Findlay High School, calls me the other week, and he was like, "Dog, I've got to talk to you about this." I'm like, "What's going on?" I'm thinking something happened with a player.
Right.
Like, what's going on? He said, "We just went up against Pick North, Winton Woods, Ironton, and the 2 other schools, and in Findlay, in a 7-on-7 tournament." And he said they played Winton Woods. I think it was in the first round or one of their pool games. I can't remember. Winton Woods had Justin Hill as their middle safety in a 3-safety defense. He's a defensive end.
Okay.
But that's how freakishly athletic that kid is. He was like, Slate, like, when I tell you, like, he was making play after play, like, I mean it. So I just wrap your head around that athleticism.
That's freaky.
He's a defensive lineman, hybrid outside backer, that the coaching staff at Winton Woods is probably like, he's too good not to take to these 7-on-7s.
Right.
And so they had him playing in the middle.
There.
Oh my gosh.
I thought you were about to say they put him out there at receiver, and then I was going to be like, whoa.
I'm sure they did. But yeah, I was mind blown. So he was like, dude, I'd never seen anything like it. And so
yeah,
that was pretty cool.
He commits on the 3rd of July. Micah DeBose commits on the 4th. Marion Dye, who I might have to eat a whole lot of crow about that one last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damian Shakeland still sounds like LSU. He is on the 29th. Jamie French on the 30th of August.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of commitments coming up. So as always, we will try to cover them all. So yeah, big weekend. So that kind of, OSU, you wanted to hit on the new analyst hire.
So there's two other things I want to hit on really quick. And then we can move on to talk about the US Open, because that was phenomenal. Billy Fessler. All right. So Billy Fessler was recently hired as the offensive analyst, one of the offensive analysts for Ohio State. He will be working directly with the quarterbacks. He is replacing what Todd Fitch was for us last year in the previous 3 or 4 years. If you guys don't know who Todd Fitch is, go listen to CJ Stroud talk about who he appreciates and thanks. Todd Fitch was one of those guys that he always talked about being in that quarterback room and helping him see another side of things. So it's an important position. Billy Fessler is coming from us. Technically, he's coming from UCLA. Where does he have a tie to Ohio State? Well, in 2021 or 2020 and 2021, he was an Ohio State offensive graduate assistant. He left Ohio State, went to Akron as a position coach, ended up being the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Akron last year under Joe Moorhead. And Joe Moorhead, in my opinion, is one of the best offensive minds in the country. And so if he trusts you to coach the quarterbacks and to call plays, possibly, I'm not 100% sure on that, that lets me know that you know what you're doing. Chip Kelly hires him at UCLA to be the quarterbacks coach. Then Chip Kelly leaves. And so Deshaun Stewart, I don't know what's the guy's the coach at UCLA, the running back there, Deshaun Foster. Deshaun Foster does not retain him, and so now Coach Fessler's looking for a job. He recently gets hired as Ohio State's analyst. Why is this a big deal? Why should we be worried about this? As much as Chip Kelly is excited to get back to coaching quarterbacks, and Coach Day is excited to get back to coaching quarterbacks, Coach Day and Coach Kelly are going to be masterminds of scripting and doing phenomenal things with game plans week in and week out. And that is going to be their central focus. So you need somebody that you can trust to help make sure that the kids understand what's going on within the game plan. And Billy Fessler is going to be that guy. This is important also because at the end of the month, the NCAA is holding a meeting to talk about the coaching limitations that they have. Technically, right now, on game day, analysts are not allowed to be on the field with headsets. They can be on the field, they can talk to players, but they cannot actively be coaching, headsets, communication with the people upstairs. That is not something that is allowed. The NCAA is going to vote on at the end of the month whether just Ohio State, but coaching staffs can basically expand and have no limit to the amount of coaches who have headsets on the sideline. If that rule passes, which I strongly believe it will, I have no reason why it wouldn't. I think that's a stupid rule. If that rule passes, Billy Fessler is going to get a raise eventually, because that job becomes extremely more important now, because Coach Kelly will likely be upstairs calling the plays. Coach Day is going to be the CEO. You need a quarterback guy that can be in the coaches on the field with the quarterbacks. And so I know I just got really excited about that and went long-winded, but from a head coach perspective, having those additional guys on the field makes your game day operations so much easier. And if it makes your game day operations more smooth, it helps the players settle down and to get a full picture of what they are seeing, especially at the quarterback position. So that is paramount. Fingers crossed that the NCAA committee, rules committee, whatever it is, votes on, allowing however many coaches to have headsets on the field. So hopefully that all works out. And then the other thing that has been talked about is we lost somebody to the team up north. Erin Dunston, she was the on-campus recruiting coordinator for Ohio State. Well, what is that? Basically, she's the one that takes care of all the players and their family. She's in charge of making sure everything is in place for them when they set foot on campus. I will tell you, with my experience of going down to Ohio State and being at practices and having gone down there with Luke as a recruit, Erin Dunston was a freaking rock star. And so you see these rumors that Coach Day was extremely upset that she went to the school up north and had some choice words. I don't know if those are true. I also think he may be upset, though, because he lost somebody that was very influential in helping them secure these recruits. And so Erin Dunston, she had bigger goals than just being in recruiting. She had aspirations of actually being in football operations. And I'm not going to ever fault a woman, a coach in general, but especially a woman as a girl dad who wants to really step their game up and move somewhere in a man's sport, all right, in a man's game. I'm putting quotation marks, don't kill me about this. In a man's world, she wants to further herself and show that she's just as worthy. Salute to you. I wish you would have gone somewhere else than the team up north, but she is going to be more over football operations with the team up north. So she will be working with the entire landscape of the team, similar to what Mark Pantoni and his staff do. So big loss, but a replaceable loss. And so they're going to get other people. My interactions with her, she is phenomenal. She took care of my dad when we went down there. She made sure that we had somebody with us all the time. When we went to the Indiana game, she made sure that we had somebody that was with us to show us the ins and outs of everything that was going on, allowed us to be behind the scenes, down on the field, things like that. She set that up. And so shout out to her for that. Wish she would have gone somewhere else, but those are the two coaching things or staff things that I wanted to hit on, because I think they are both very significant for different reasons. And so there's now an opening on Ohio State staff. It'd be great if somebody that we know from Ohio that works for a professional women's soccer team and DeVell Winters, it would be great if he would apply for one of those jobs and come back. But, I digress. That would be phenomenal.
that is literally what I was looking up to see where he was at now. So yeah, that, like you said, replaceable though. It's not like it was Pantoni. You know, so it is a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Don't let the fact that, you know, we say it's replaceable. You know, she was good at what she did.
Yeah, she was really good. Really good.
But she wanted away from the recruiting side of it. And I get that. You know, I don't know her personal life. So I'm sure that, you know, you're running around ragged. You know, when you do that job. So yeah. So US Open. I'll be the first one to tell you, I've just never been a Rory fan.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So yesterday, you know, to channel a pro wrestling term, I think this weekend really completed the biggest face turn we've probably ever seen in a professional athlete in Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah.
You've got a dude who, when Live Golf became a thing, was hated by the golf world.
Yeah.
To now interacting with the crowd at a major in a way I've never seen anybody do during a major.
Yeah.
Signing autographs in the middle of a round.
Yeah. That's the part that got me. Like, I love it, but it's also like, dude, you're trying to go win, and he's still making time for the fans. And so that, I thought that was pretty cool.
But, you know, anybody who even kind of likes golf, if you were a golf watcher when Tiger was big, go watch the last 4 holes of yesterday.
Must see TV.
Yes. What was the number? Rory was like 496 for 496 on putts inside 3 feet and misses 2.
Misses 2.
And the last 3 holes.
The one thing that, you know, I like to golf. I am a decent golfer. My goal is to break 80 this summer. It's going to happen. I've shot 80 a few times. I just, whatever reason, I have those mental lapses like Rory has on a few holes, and I miss putts that I shouldn't miss. So that is the goal this year. Seeing, like you, I'm not the biggest Rory fan. I liked young Rory because he was just like a kid, and he just was out there swinging, and he was pudgy, and, you know, like, you kind of rooted for that. As he's gotten older, a little different. But my heart broke for him. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, I felt so bad for him because I know people who have come after Tiger Woods, who have been great players, they've always been dubbed as the next one. This is the next one. This is the next one. And Rory's been a top 5 golfer.
Yes.
Since then.
He was the face of Nike Golf after Tiger.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal golfer. He's going to be in the Golf Hall of Fame, all those things. But when you have so much success at a young age, and then it kind of tailors off, you know, that pressure to live up to that expectation happens. And so there was a part of me that wanted to see Rory just get that monkey off his back. And why do I say that? I think of when I became the head coach of Harding, that pressure leading up to that first game, and then you get the win, and it's just like, you know what I mean? Like,
you can breathe.
Oh my God. Like, I can breathe for 5 minutes, and we got to do it again. We got to start getting prepared for the next game. I wanted that for him. There was a part of me that wanted that for him. But to see the way Bryson DeChambeau responded to the adversity that he had created for himself with a few bad shots, like that, to me, it's just like a testament of perseverance. Like,
oh yeah,
when he hit the ball in the bunker, he had every reason to be like, dog, well, this is it. I'm not
going playoff.
Yeah, I'm going to the playoff. I just got to try to keep this thing on the green, you know, because ball's been rolling off the green left and right. But for him to stick it like that close, like that, the golf gods were looking out for him. You know what I mean? And so the one thing that I think has made Bryson DeChambeau so popular is his work in like the YouTube space and YouTube golf and things like that. He's made himself accessible in a way that no professional golfer has ever done. He goes on other people's YouTube golfers channels and does stupid challenges with them. And Like, he's made himself so accessible that it's hard, regardless of your affiliations, live, PGA, whatever. It's made it hard not to root for the guy. And so I was happy to see him win. On Father's Day, he lost his father 2 years ago. But yeah, that was like legit must-see TV.
Yeah.
My wife was in it, like into it, and she is not into golf, but she was into that moment. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then, like you said about how he's making himself accessible, the TikTok trend that's out there is, how many likes to buy me NCAA, blah, 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 blah. Well, a guy did that, with his wife. How many likes for a new set of irons?
Yeah.
And it was like 30,000, and Bryson DeChambeau has to comment. Well, he comments and he says, if you get 50,000, I'll fly you out for a lesson. I don't see any other golfer doing that.
No, and that's so cool, man.
Yeah, so kudos to him.
Yeah.
The only other thing really in the sports world, thought it was cool that the Hard Knocks announcement today.
Yeah. I saw that.
So they're doing an in-season full division.
Yeah.
NFC or AFC North. So Browns, Bengals, Ravens, Steelers. A, it's the best division in football.
Yep.
B, all four of those teams can make the playoffs.
All four.
Now, do I think Pittsburgh will? No. I think they're going to let Russ go way too long. And then they'll go to Justin and realize, oh, hey, this guy's pretty good if they let him just do his thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see. NBA Finals, Game 5 tonight. Go Mavs. Keep shocking the world. Angel Reese beat Caitlin Clark yesterday. Get them girls the gloves, dog. At this. Oh, Tank won Saturday night,
dude. Tank. Listen,
lull you to sleep and then take your dinner.
My gosh, I'm watching that fight. Like, dude, like, are you ever going to step on the gas? I've only watched 2 of his fights, so like, I didn't know like this was his strategy.
That's
and
his
then
thing.
When he turned it on, that was a deadly knockout.
Yeah, no Conor McGregor fight yet. He got hurt, so but I think that kind of ties it up for around the sports world. Not a whole lot to dive into.
Yeah.
Real quick, for couch potato talk.
Yeah.
One thing we have talked about, you hear us talk about the collectives, the NIL collectives.
Yeah.
Ohio State has 3. 2 of the 3 are way more visible, I would say, than the third. The third one being a group called the Cohesion Foundation. They do dabble with the revenue sports, but it seems like they do more with the lower sports.
Yeah.
And they do, they are a nonprofit NIL collective, as is the foundation, which is by far the biggest OSU collective. So those 2 are nonprofit, whereas the 1870s Society is for profit. So the biggest difference when it comes to the collectives is the nonprofits, A, obviously cannot operate for a profit. But that also handcuffs those specific collectives on the types of activities they can facilitate, because it's essentially supposed to be related to other nonprofits, charities, that type of things. The other factor to that is they are capped at reimbursing or compensating the players reasonable compensation. That wording, you think back to the Tatgate days. That was one of the knocks that got DeVere and Boom, was they were working summer jobs and the compensation was not deemed reasonable.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a quick breakdown. It obviously it dives way deeper. You get into tax things and all of that.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the foundation first. They were the first big collective, started by Cardell Jones and Brian Schottenstein. Everybody talks about Cardell because he ain't come here to play school. Cardell Jones is one of my favorite people ever. And
great dude.
If we grow this thing, to where we even get a halfway decent number of followers, at that point, I'd be comfortable reaching out to Cardell to have him on.
Yeah.
So, as football season comes, share, because then we can get Cardell.
Yeah.
But him and Brian started this, and one of the things about them is their board is stacked. The foundation does work very, 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 very closely with Ohio State.
Yes.
They put on amazing events.
Yeah.
Go to practice, go to dinner with a player, team meals, all kinds of stuff. And again, that's where reasonable compensation comes in with them being a nonprofit.
Yeah.
They work with a bunch of charities. They're big with the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer. And a lot of that's who benefit they partner with on a lot of these. But they also offer some crazy experiences when I say, so for example, you can go play a round at Muirfield with a player or a coach for $7,500.
That's awesome.
But what really gives them substance? I kind of hit on with their board. You've got Cardell and Schottenstein, the co-founders. Jeffrey Schottenstein, board member. Ron Stokes. Chris O'Shaughnessy, who is an athlete, agent, massive law firm. Great guy to have on hand. Then you get into where you bring Ohio State and business together.
Yep.
JT Barrett, Rick Reichert, Evan Turner, Matt Terwilliger, 3-ball, Illinois. Mike Conley, who donates money back. D'Angelo Russell.
He was just labeled as a major donor the other day on social media.
Terry McLaurin. You've got real estate folks. And that's, we'll hit on that in just a second, because just like with Rick Reichert, 10 Talents NIL group, booking stuff. And then you get into, they also have a Florida chapter, quote unquote. You saw there's been a picture floating around of Schottenstein, Cardell. I think it was Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith at dinner in Florida. You've got Santonio Holmes, Urban Meyer, one of my favorite Buckeyes ever, in A.T. and Sabino.
Yeah.
So when we talk NIL, it's not always just straight cash, homie, as Randy Moss would say.
Yeah.
So having real estate developers and Rick Reichert and those types of places, these guys will go shoot a commercial for Reichert or do a appearance at the dealership. When you see these guys getting cars, they're not getting that car handed to them for their life. That car is basically leased while they're there through the foundation and by meeting obligations. So, the foundation tends to be more, they have a square that they have to operate within, being a nonprofit. That's probably the easiest way to put it.
Yeah.
The 1870s Society, little newer collective, also very, very, very much in tune with Ohio State, to the point that you have them doing a podcast with Ryan Day.
Yeah. And backed by Gene Smith too. He was a big time advocate for when
very much. Probably, I mean, honestly, they're both very much connected to Ohio State. The
Absolutely.
foundation does more on the events side of things, I think.
Yeah.
The 1870 group, they understand though a lot of what the foundation does is very, very high dollar.
Yeah.
It is 100% geared toward, the high rolling donors.
Yeah.
The 1870 group gives you a lot of different options because of what they can do, being a for-profit entity. I mean, they have contributions that go from $1.99 all the way up to 5Gs.
Yeah.
So, and again, though, you've got a pretty solid group of guys who kind of are the brain trusts behind this. Drew Essler is kind of the brain trust, I would say, on the business side of it. He went to OSU, played club sports, massive business background. He's a data science guy, but he works on the corporate partnership side of life. And then their director of player engagements, Tyvis Powell.
Yeah.
Nobody better.
Yeah.
Jason Priestis, founder of 11 Warriors, is on their board. Then you get into some healthcare and finance people. So they are more, I almost want to say like a shop, honestly. Like you can go on there because, again, of what they do. And, you can pay $25 a month and you get signed memorabilia once a month. But on the business side of it, they are not capped. If David Sanders coming on a visit this weekend, when we use the term, we're going to throw a massive bag. It's going to be a combination of the foundation, most likely saying, here's your apartment, here's your car, blah, blah, blah. 1870 on the other side is going to say, okay, here's this, and this, but this is where we're going to throw you a bag.
Yeah.
I know that's a kind of a rough, dive into it because you still have agents involved. The players have agents. So not everything is ran through the collectives. That's the other side to it.
Yeah.
But the collectives serve as that first layer.
Yeah.
When a guy is on a visit.
Yeah.
Say I want to do an autograph signing with Caleb Downs. Caleb's a foundation guy, but odds are he would have either a direct email for NIL related things or an agent that you go through. So it's definitely still a work in progress, honestly. As NIL changes and stuff, the collectives are more and more important. And you see collectives from other schools doing things different ways. And honestly, there are still things like on the memorabilia side of the world, I feel like the OSU collectives could do better.
Yeah.
And that thought has came up. Hey, let me talk to you. Let me bend your ear.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to follow, though.
Yeah, I think, and that's such good information on the collectives too, because a lot of people think when they hear the collectives, their just responsibility is just to give these kids all this money and this
Right.
that's it. And it's so important to understand that there's so much more that goes into these collectives. Right. I have a football camp that I'm working at the end of the month through Next Gen that is set up through some sort of collective with Ohio State. And, Ohio State players will be there. And Travion Henderson is the one that's in charge of it. And so,
yes,
that is helped ran through one of the collectives. And they're the ones that help set that up. And so those are the things that, everybody just assumes that when they talk about the Ohio State collectives, and you talk about Cardale and Schottenstein, that they're just throwing so much money at these kids. And there is that component of it, but it's much, much deeper. Yes. And like having those business partnerships and having all those connections with the Reichert family, with, different real estate agencies and different things like that, you're seeing these kids not only get, paid for their name, image, and likeness, but they're being taught, how to be a professional in the real world. And so I think Ohio State, at the beginning, when this whole thing came out, everyone's trying to figure everything out. I think Ohio State has done a really good job of setting themselves up and having a great business plan, not just for the collectives, but for the kids when they are recruiting. This is what we can do for you. And this is where, hey, we're not going to give you $500,000 right now to come here. Like, no, this is what we're going to set up, and this is how it's going to work over the 3 or 4, 5 years that you're here. So that's really good info, man.
Yeah, and one other thing is Ohio State is one of the few schools that literally has somebody on staff to walk the players through, okay, now you have to account for taxes. You have to account for this, that, the other. But like you've seen Travion Henderson, and I can't think of, there were a couple of other players, they're flipping houses.
Yeah.
So they're making their money work for them.
Yep.
Like the football camps, that is one. I didn't see the one in Mansfield this year, but normally like Mansfield has done one with a different conglomerate than the one Travion's doing at Olentangy.
Yeah.
You see a lot of those type of things. The Stiles brothers do a camp out, toward homelessness and hunger and that type of thing. I've been trying to, I know a guy who is walking the continental 48 states right now for mental health awareness. So like I have tried. I tag like Harry Miller, who doesn't play anymore, but is still an Ohio State athlete at the end of the day. His scholarship stayed intact, everything like that. So those are the other type of things these guys can do. Paris Johnson did a foundation while he was in school. Because that's another thing, like people don't realize how regulated these athletes have been. I cannot think, somebody started a GoFundMe for something at one point, and this was before NIL, and that was a violation technically the way it was worded. Like these guys were put under a microscope. And now they finally get to be normal. Let's be honest, most college football players and, all college athletes have a competitive fire, but they also, in a way, have an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Now these guys get to be entrepreneurs. And, the example I always gave everybody was, you've got JT Barrett when he was at Ohio State, and you've got the drum major. The drum major, whatever instrument he played when he was in band, could go give lessons and say, I'm the drum major at Ohio State, and charge whatever ungodly amount of money he wanted. JT Barrett could not give a kid a lesson.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that he was JT Barrett. Like, it was ridiculous.
It's crazy.
So, So, NIL landscape changing, always going to be changing. But that's kind of just, I guess, a Cliff's Notes version.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that is all I've got. What about you?
No, that's all I've got, man. I was going to give, I mentioned it, but at the end of the week, at the end of the month, we are going to have the opportunity to work one of those next gen camps with Travion Henderson, and so I'm excited for it. Not obviously I'm a Buckeye fan, so not just to see like Buckeyes there, but to just see these guys, giving back to the communities that just adore them. Like, I can't wait to see the look on the kids' faces when they see Travion Henderson walk in, or, whichever other Buckeyes are there. So I'm excited about that. It's a pretty cool opportunity that we get. And, it'll be fun. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, that's all I got, man. No shout outs this week.
We'll share that link for that camp.
Absolutely.
So we'll get that up there. Hopefully when we record next week, we got a boom. I mean, every recruiting weekend. So we will see. But with that said, we will see you guys later.
All right. See ya.